And the next one is a twin carb 2000. Some patina going around here, but not too bad. Nice. Really exciting. And a powerful air horn. Now, something of particular attention, I've actually discovered one thing. This is actually what you get in a Borg Warner. Now, if you have any automatic Rover P6 or any automatic British car Jaguar from this age, you will have a Borg Warner 3-speed automatic transmission, usually a Borg Warner 35 or 65. And this is what you get inside it. You have your brake bands, which basically latches onto the drum itself. You have an epicyclic gear, which you get forward or reverse gears. Automatic gearboxes are extremely complex things, but Borg Warners are extremely mechanical. So there's no solenoids, there's no electronic stuff, it's all mechanical valves. So that's your valve block with your sump. Something I never really looked into when I had my P6. You've got your oil pump, you've got your reverse drum, your front drum, the intermediate drum, then your lay shaft, and that's your governor. And that governor is what drives the actual speedo sense, the actual speedo cable to drive the speedo instrument cluster. So very, very interesting design. Even the servo is a piston design. Really nice to see. Anyway, we pay attention to avocado green. Avocado green is such a beautiful colour. V8 automatic, box pleat cloth seats. It's wearing slightly thicker 185 tyres, the badges to go with that. And these badges, everybody used to steal these at one point. Or it felt like that. And obviously the boot mounted spare wheel, that was either an add-on feature that a lot of owners have taken up because it seemed to be a thing back in the day, but many owners nowadays don't do this. They keep the wheel in the boot, but it gives the boot a huge amount of space, because that wheel, if you think about it, if it's basically mounted in the boot, you're losing about a quarter of the boot space. But nowadays this sort of stuff is actually really hard to get hold of. Over here we have another V8 in, I wouldn't say it's right, this is Mexico brown. But, and this is the truth about Mexico brown, it's a completely different shade to my old P6. Completely different. There are so many different shades of Mexico brown, it's hard to see what's what. I've got a feeling that I'm actually completely wrong about this. Correction. This is Brasilia. This was only a colour that was released in the last year or so of production for the VIP models. It was a run-out model. The Rover SD1 had already come out in 1977, and the Brasilia was offered as a colour. It's very similar to Mexico brown, a tad lighter, but I've seen Mexico brown that looks like this, but this is Brasilia. I would be tempted to have a V8. Oh, it's got air conditioning. They did throw air conditioning at the later models. Jesus. Can you imagine the amount of power that takes from that V8 to drive that? And obviously, the heater is a completely unique system. Air conditioning parts for these are quite hard to find. Usually on the North American P6s, you will find this sort of info. And I'll tell you what, these auto switches, they give so many problems. And then obviously you get the overriders as well, and the fog lights on the sides. They look quite nice as well. More Rovers. Right, we have the Rover Sports Register. Okay, now that is a mix of Rovers Rover P6s, ST1s, Rover P5s, Rover P4s, we will see a load of them here. And this one, yep, good high quality jack, you will have no problems with that, sir. I could smell the fuel a mile off. That's the best front of a car you will ever get, end of. No competition there. And of course we have the Rover P5B. I'm sorry, the fumes that are coming out here are just unbelievable. You can smell things a mile off. Rover P5B Coupe, probably the most desirable Rover you can lay your hands on. End of. I think it represents Rover at its absolute peak in the 60s. I love P6s, but the P5B, I think, was Rover at its classiest best. There is not much that compares to it in terms of the class. I mean, look at that front. Look at the size of the bumper, the chrome grille. Everything that every Rover since has copied. Everything. If you named what a Rover is, I think this car is a symphony of it. Wood, leather, chrome, beautiful paintwork. The road style wheels are just beautiful on these. Oh, we have the sporting bears. Let's have a look over here, see what cars are going in and out. There are many dream rides that you could have. Then you pay a fee and then you get to sit in the passenger seat of the car and have a trip round, and I can smell the fumes, and I suspect you can smell the fumes on camera, believe you me. Quite a decent selection over here. Got some Datsuns, got Peugeot 205, BMW, Mini. A real nice selection. And this is a charity, by the way. Sporting Bears is actually a charity. Real good selection here. Right, I'm not going to try and get distracted here. P4, still on the Rover Sports Register stand. I'll come back to that in a second. Rover P4 in all its beige glory. Just trying to get round here. Oh, lovely. Right, now. This is a 216 coupe, I gather. Yep, it is a 21. Is it a 216? No, sorry. It's a 216 coupe by any chance. See, I'm still learning about Rovers. There's no badges on the back. It's been debadged, but it is the coupe. And it's the later dashboard, so it is a 216 with the Rover K series, not the Honda D series. I would solemnly like to get my hands on one of these before they become too rare. That's another one on my list. Beautiful K series. Through here, somebody clean a very nice car. The earlier one did not have a grille, and I actually prefer the look of these for some reason. It's a K-Red 1990. I actually prefer the fact they don't have a grille because it's not pretending to be anything else. Another coupe. At this show you expect to see lots of patina and rust, and you can find plenty of leaves. Wow, look at the leaves on that. Again, this is a coupe with all the typical lacquer peel that you get on these cars. Oh my goodness me. This has definitely come straight out of a barn. I can honestly say that when I found Beatrix, mine wasn't quite the level of this, but it wasn't far off. But I didn't have that sort of issue. That is, there's no battery plate left. This one, and this engine, by the way, is a T-Series, okay? T-Series, I would like to get my hands on one with a T-Series engine, because I want to know the difference between a T-Series and a K-Series and how they feel. Obviously the K-Series, lighter, all aluminium. This had a cast iron block, and it was solemnly based on the origins of the O-Series, but it's not an O-Series, it's far superior. And a lot of people regard the T-Series, the 2-litre T-Series, as a better alternative to the KV6 because it just picks up better. In fact, in some respects, the KV6 wasn't necessary. This is quite common to see the lacquer peel going on here. In fact, if we come round the other side, yeah, this is going to need some serious amounts of welding. This is not uncommon to see on any Rover R8. In fact, this is a good example of how far they can go. That's really bad. Yeah, the sunroof might need looking at, but that's quite bad. Right, we have the BRM stand, Rover BRM. These cars are a limited edition Rover R3. The 214-216 it was based on. You've got an unbelievable leather interior, and people die for these interiors. The door cards are absolutely gorgeous. I mean, I can understand why people have stripped these cars. Look at the quality of the carpets and them and the centre console. I can understand why people really want to get their hands on one of these. Are they worth the money? For that interior alone, yes. But obviously it hasn't escaped the lacquer peel issues, but still, each their own. Big Magnificent Club. Stuff everywhere, seats everywhere, things up for sale. Now this is the 200-400 Owners Club, and as you can see here, this is, if you buy a Rover R8, you will be faced with some lacquer peel. Unfortunately, Rover didn't quite understand how lacquer was supposed to be applied, or even how good quality they were supposed to be using. I suppose half the stories of the cars being driven from one side of the factory to the other and then sprayed off in lacquer kind of goes with the territory of they didn't do a thorough enough job. But then again, other manufacturers have exactly the same issue. Obligatory moss there. We all like a bit of moss, don't we? Nice interior. Doesn't look too bad at the bottom actually, this one. And because it's a G-Reg, no grille, which is good. Just the yeah, lacquer. And apparently it's been sold. Someone's bought this. Oh, and this one is actually the rebuilt. Oh, it's an L-Reg. It's having a bit of work underneath. Very familiar infrastructure, but Matheson struts, not double wishbones that you get on the HHR 45. Oh, Mr. K series. Rocker cover leaks as usual. We all know about rocker cover leaks, do we not, ladies and gentlemen? And a good old tissue. Got the injection module. Everything is very similar. The MEMS 2 ECU is mounted here instead of on the bulkhead. They changed it a few times. There's quite a few variations of the MEMS unit. There was quite a few MEMS 2. I don't exactly know what designation this is, but someone will tell me by the shape of it. So the plugs, we've got the vacuum line that is for the MAF sensor. Apparently, this is a weird thing. There's a MAF set. The MAF sensor is actually inside the MEMS 2. It's not external. It's actually inside the ECU. So That's quite an interesting fact I never found out. But basically, yeah, it's a rib design. I'm not quite sure what series it was, but there was quite a few variations. It does make me want an R8 more and more. This one is quite fairly solid. And the two-tone is actually really, really nice. Seats are comfortable. And obviously the aerial on the roof, nice place to put it. And it is a 214. Oh, what do we have over here? Bumbling away. A roller. Smell that fuel. Anyway, we've seen the Rover now. We have a Rover Streetwise 1.8. Now this is a car that everybody kind of laughed at when it came out, but the truth is, everybody has copied this idea of getting a Super Mini and jacking it up. Obviously SUVs seem to be taking over the market now, but for the last 6-7 years, every manufacturer has done this jacked up Super Mini theme, like the Ford EcoSport, which is a Fiesta on stilts. Did they not copy this? I think they did. Rover were thinking way ahead about this. If your car is at the show and you would like the EKA code, ask for Gareth. That's a very handy note to note, actually. And the EKA code on Rovers, if anyone, as I say, if you're a Rover enthusiast, you will know what that means and how important that is. Without that code, you're not going anywhere, Sonny. Luckily, I was told my EKA code in the Beatrix's history. Again, slightly different MEMS-free unit down there, but I like this. I think this is cutting edge. It's just jacked up. Since here it's quite dark actually. Trying to get a good view around the backside. Hey, this is a nice touch. Obviously, because my content is Rover and Ford based, I'm going to concentrate on this sort of stuff, because this is the sort of stuff you want to see. I mean, this is another BRM and it looks absolutely mint. I'm pretty sure you're watching this and thinking I'm not very technical and I'm not really informative. The truth is, I don't know a heck of a lot about cars, and the truth is, this is not scripted. This is ad hoc. If I scripted this, it'd be a little bit more organised, but you know, I just enjoy cars as I see them, and that's the paintwork on that. If the camera's picking that up, it's just, I mean, the interiors in these are just absolutely sublime, and the owner has just lifted the bonnet for me. Thank you so much, sir. Wow, okay, that's tidy. That's really clean. And obviously you've got a strut brace on it as well. The standard strut brace, you must have one of these. It makes it the most out of everything on the handling. This is gorgeous. And this is a limited edition, 385 of 797. There was only 797 built. I thought there was more than that, but I've got that wrong. So it's nice to have that sticker on there actually to tell me. I do love the stickers. I think the stickers really do set things off when you've got the correct stickers. But everything is quite familiar under the bonnet. Everything is pretty much a carryover from all the other cars. The ABS motor I'm familiar with. The fuel filter housing, very familiar with. The wiper motor is practically identical to what I've rebuilt recently. Power steering reservoir. You didn't get a sticker on my one. The late Rover 25s and 45s do not get the power steering sticker. And that's as simple as what it gets. And obviously, because this is the VVC system, you get another cam belt. Effectively, the VVC system, variable valve timing, it's a very much a cheaper version of the Honda VTEC system. But I say cheaper, it was just Rover's own way of doing things. And essentially what you have is a camshaft split into 4 pieces. So you have this exhaust camshaft being driven in 2 pieces, and this belt separating the 2 halves. Essentially you can control all the cylinders individually, all the valves individually, I should say, and just tweak the timing of when they open and close, just to give that extra bit of punch. And they actually would have probably put this more or less into more or less mainstream production later on. But the VVC system really worked well. Rover were thinking of something completely different, which is a story for another episode, but they were thinking about camless engines. So if Rover had continued going on a camless engine, they were certainly looking at getting rid of the camshaft phase, the camshaft part of an engine, and replacing it with electrical solenoids. So it would actually do away with the VVC altogether, but that's another story for another day. There was upon a time where I wanted one of these, and I wouldn't rule it out, and it is a Rover 800, the Rover 800 and SD1 Club. Is this a worthy successor to the SD1? Yes, it is. It's gorgeous. It is slap bang 80s. You look at it and it's 80s. The lines, look at the line going across. It's not curved, it's not boxy like a Volvo. It's just got that slight fraction of a curve with the obligatory Rover 800 bubbles. They can bubble really badly along the roof, but this one looks really good. Just that isolated area. Oh, it's an automatic. Maybe I should make the owner an offer, because it's just, the early dashboards for me are top notch. They do suffer from electrical issues, but you've got to accept that on these. They do come with these little niggles, but there is so much technology stuff. Look at the amount of buttons you get there. Of course it's going to have problems. It's an 80s car with buttons. This is when they kind of started discovering printed circuit boards, you know, were a really good thing. I've discovered some more crustiness at the bottom there. But the two-tone works so well. And yes, it may be a Honda Legend underneath, but it's so much nicer. And the SD1 look about it, they kept the SD1 front, they just tweaked it a little bit. The SD1 headlights, very, very similar headlights to the SD1, I will say. So yes, it was a natural successor to the SD1. They made a Honda Legend look like SD1-esque at the front with Rover badge. Oh, this is better. No one's actually getting in. Beautiful. Vauxhalls, bit of a contrast. I think we've just jumped a little bit, so I'm going to go back to the SD1 stand over here. It's all a bit of a jumble at the moment. SD1s, you want to see an SD1? Do you want to see one without anything in it? Yeah, this has been fully resprayed completely, the whole body shell, and it's been put back together. I believe this is actually the subject of a YouTube channel. I can't remember what channel, but this was welded up really nicely. I mean, this was, I think, when I started watching the episodes of this car, I can't remember what channel it is, but basically there's entire holes on the floor and he's had to patch it up bit by bit, and the job he's done is amazing. Now this diesel engine, this is a very rare SD1 diesel. There aren't many that survive. Getting parts of them are non-existent, but it works so nicely. I've seen it off camera, and it works really, really sweetly. The idea is they've actually got individual cylinder heads, which isn't uncommon. I've seen some engines with a similar system with separate cylinder heads, but it's been resprayed so nicely. I'm so glad that it's been preserved, because nobody would give a diesel SD1 a look in, even 5 years ago. Everybody wants the V8, but why not a diesel? It's so nice to see this car being done up to this extent. Respraying is actually the easy bit. Putting it back together and remembering where everything goes is another, that's another thing in itself. Over here we have a V8, which is what you want to see. with a plenum chamber, which they added to the later models, with a variant math sensor over there, or an earlier version of a mass air source sensor. Chrome handles, big steering wheel, Momo steering wheel, very nice indeed, with the lattice wheels. Right, I've got to be quick because my phone needs to be charged, and I've come over here because we have a load of British cars over here, so I can just skip to the ads. Austin Allegro Mark III, late one, with a series engine. Very simple, very compact. Lovely to see. Really nice condition with hydrogas. Look at the space there, you can literally stand in that gap. Got some work going on there. Austin Maxes. Beautiful colour. Quite a few of my family have had these over the years. In the 70s, 80s in particular. In the 90s, these were cheap. You could pick them up for about £100. You'd probably be able to get one for free. People were giving them away. E-Series engine. Well, the E-Series, as it is a 1.8, I believe. And look at the wiper motor sitting on the bulkhead. We've got no room to put it, we just put it on the bulkhead. They just take up a lot of space, the suspension. And this is an earlier Maxi, this is a later one, so you've got these seats, sort of brown cloth seats, nice interior. This engine, this sort of weather shield in front of the distributor and everything to stop water getting on the distributor. That was a serious problem on the early Minis where they cut out because water would go through the radiator and slosh on the distributor and it would cut out and you'd be drying your points off. Over here we have some more Allegros being jacked up. You can see the hydrogas in all its glory down there. You can see the hydrogas here as well. Such a simple, compact suspension. Over here we have a Dolly Sprint, which looks certainly Bindfind-esque. Yeah. And we have another Triumph Dolomite Sprint, probably the colour that you'll most likely see them in, most popular colour, yellow with a Go Faster black stripe. We have a brown one over there as well. And we have lots of bits and pieces going on here, as you can see. Bum bugs, love bum bugs. Who doesn't? I think they're hilarious. Now we're going to go to the barn find area. We've got, Reliant Robins. This is a very late one, 1999. This is probably one of the last. I think they shut the factory in 2001, so this would have been quite late. They tried to update what was naturally quite an old model. Reliant Kitten. Very, very rare. Do not see many of these. In fact, I think this is the second one I've physically seen in the flesh. Very nice indeed. Scimitar. And this is actually the V6 version with the Essex V6, the Ford Essex V6, which we all know and love because it is such a stonkingly good sounding engine and it pulls like anything. Now, straw. That means we're in the barn find section now. This barn find here, now I will say one thing. This barn find area is a lot smaller than what it used to be, but let's just trawl through this because this is what we came here to see. First one, Mini Clubman Estate. We've got Essence of Rust going along the sides. Yep, all very typical, and there's no bottoms on the doors, but still, they're quite dry inside. The floor pans look good. Now, this one is an interesting one. A Faisal Vega HK. I have no idea what this is, but there are only 98 of them supplied to the UK according to this. It looks Russian. It looks very Russian. It looks very unusual. A V8 engine. Ford Consul GT. Ford Consul GTs. I believe these cars were very popular for banger racing, which is why so few of these exist. A Ford Consul GT. Wow. Obviously, this isn't barn find, but it's quite nice, and that's quite nice. Got mini sprites here. See, this is the problem. I'm sorry, I'm 6'3", and that's tiny. I mean, literally, this is the size of my foot. This is the size of the door. Foot, door. See? No, you didn't see that properly. This one looks as if it's having a bit of recommissioning work done on the inside. Dry, dusty, very nice indeed. Nice purple colour there. But it's on the mend. That's the main thing. It's here, it's on the mend, and all these bits will be sorted. Everything is sortable. It's time and money. Mostly time. Especially if you have the skills to sort it out. It looks honest. As long as that engine isn't seized, all good. If it is, get another one. The A series engines are very obtainable. Your steering shaft goes straight into the rack at the front. So that's the old-fashioned nowadays. Is if this had an accident, the steering shaft would go and literally push the steering wheel into your chest, which is why a lot of manufacturers move from putting the steering rack there to behind the engine, exactly where it won't be touched in an accident. Oh, and of course we must have the MZR ZT register. Now, we've got the MGB register over here. Lovely cars here. Just take you along here. I thought I would have a look since the bonnet is open on this one. Beautiful B series engine, beautifully coloured. Twin carbs, lovely bodywork. Right, let's go along. Other work being done here. I fitted an exterior radiator fan. That's always a useful thing on these cars. And we have an MGTF. So it's Alcantara interior, I believe. Really nice plush 54 plate, so quite a late one. Trophy blue. Trophy blue. Very nice indeed. Then we have a ZR. A ZR. I think this is a ZR 105, which is the lowest one you could get, but still incredibly powerful for what it is. I'll see the lovely ZS next door in trophy blue. Those seats look quite rare. I imagine they are, being a ZS. It's been had some work done to it. Bit modified. And then we have over here, oh, we have a late ZS. Veronica, her name is. This is one heck of a gorgeous car. I mean, look, you could see how much it's meant to somebody here. They've literally saved the car and literally rebuilt it from scratch. It's lovely to see a very late one. And this is on a 55 registration, so potentially this was actually made by the administrators. Very familiar to everyone who watches my channel. Nice spoiler. course, it's not complete without looking at one heck of a Spitfire. Now that is some engine access, that is. Triumph Spitfire. I love it. I love it. Anybody complain about engine access on this, don't own a car. Just don't own a car. So we're going to walk up very slowly. We've got the Maxis that we've just passed. So keep walking up. Morris Hotels, which have completely vanished beyond all recognition. Basically, it is a Morris Marina, but with a different body shell. And it's lovely to see one that has been so well preserved. And that's your O series engine, which wasn't brilliant, but better than the B series, but only in terms of power. Reliability wise, it wasn't quite there. It was an engine that needed work over time, but such a nice example. Even like new brake pipes and everything. That one's having some work at the rear end of the car. Yeah, quite a bit of work done there. But you've got solid live rear axle. Very basic indeed. Now I'm going to take you up here, because I've been whittering on with like so many people today, it's untrue. This is quite coveted. This is a TWR XJ 5.3 V12. Another XJS convertible. Then we have quite an earlier convertible, but a 3.6 litre version. So I'll show you the earlier one, the late one, I should say. Beautiful. And we've got earlier one with the earlier style dashboard. That was still a carryover from the British Leyland days. I think these cars have aged so nicely, it's untrue. I mean, look at it. You think the buttresses are a bit of a problem. I just think this car could not compete with the E-Type. You can't compare this to an E-Type. It's better. I think they're better than E-Types because they don't carry the baggage that E-Types do. And I think they're looked at very favourably now. They weren't back then. Willesey register. Always it'll have a poke around. That is an A series. That's the seat, engine Sprite. Now, Vauxhall Calibras. Vauxhall Calibras, which seems to have vanished off the face of the earth. That's a genuine barn find. Love to see that. Now, if I take you over here, because I have passed this before, got a couple of Bedfords over here. Who remembers these? An unrestored garage find. LXI. Wow. Astra Estate. Untouched. Untouched. These Family One engines are just amazing. Honestly, I've known so many people to say that this was, for me, when Vauxhall was in its prime, its heyday, when they were reliable motors. This one as well. I don't know what specification this is. There's all sorts of stuff going on over there. I'm trying to make my voice heard so you can hear me. Bit of a leak on this one, but honestly, really, really nice and honest. Steering rack is is mounted really high on these for some reason. Daily driver since 2016. Oh, it's a Merit. 1.7 diesel, no turbo. 57 horsepower. But I bet it goes and goes and runs and runs. They're just load luggers. The load space in that. These were everywhere. Absolutely everywhere once upon a time. We've got a GTE. Astra GTE 16 valve. And then, complete contrast, we have lots of Land Rover Discoveries, Discos, early one. This one is the earliest one. I wanted to point your attention to this because it's got a T-Series Rover engine, which looks like it's been sandwiched into the bulkhead. But this is a very, very early L registration, early Freelander. Wow, just wow. You can see the architecture of Rover merging into Land Rover a little bit, but yeah, I really like the early ones, and obviously Maestro rear lights, Maestro van rear lights, they carried so much over, and obviously you've got your Freelanders, which are now getting on these days as well. You got your TDI over here, which looks used. And that engine, that Land Rover TDI 5, will go on forever.